Okay, good evening and welcome to the May 15th, 2024 meeting of the Goffstown Economic Development Council. I think we'll start with a roll call.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Sarah Smith-Chopakis, hopeful reappointment member to the EDC.
Oscar Evelo, alternate.
Absolutely. Chet Bowen, Chair.
Jonathan Napoli, Vice Chair.
Dick Bruno, member.
Because I don't think you'll have a problem.
Great, thank you so much.
Hey,
So at
there's a
this
line.
point, we'll call to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't know if I've ever seen those cameras move. That was interesting.
What, the camera?
There, I don't think I've ever seen it move. That's great.
It just
Okay.
did it again.
They're watching.
They're watching
Wave.
us,
Hi.
yes.
Someone's watching me, I shouldn't do that.
So we have establishment of a quorum, which is good. Do you want to quickly switch this, Joanne? Because I know sometimes if there's a switch, we just make that switch right away.
Sure.
All right, so we'll do is there a nomination for, hey, Chris?
Hey,
Chris.
Chris is going to join us as well. So is there a nomination for chair and vice chair? We'll start with nomination for chair.
And you don't need a second, you just need the
Just the
nomination.
nomination, okay. Nomination for chair?
Nominate Chet Bowen for chair.
Okay, that's fine. And then one at a time, Joanne, typically?
Yeah.
Do
One,
you need a sec, you don't need a second?
you don't need a second,
Yeah,
so
one vote at a time?
if there's no, if there's no additional nominations, then you just take a vote.
Okay. Any additional nominations for chair? Okay. Well then, I guess all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then any nominations for vice chair? Oh yeah, motion passes. Any nominations for vice chair?
Nominate Dick Bruno for Vice Chair.
Any others? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Wonderful. So we don't really have to do anything right now. We're all in decent places. I'd love to invite Tina Lawton from the Main Street program. If you can come up to the front right there.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thanks for joining us.
Oh, interesting.
You want to state my name?
Oh, sure. Just for the record, we have our transcriber doing it remotely.
Okay. I'm Tina Lawton. I'm a volunteer with Goffstown Main Street and reached out a couple months ago to see if there is any way we could collaborate on anything, if you need any support with anything. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. What ideas do you have for collaboration? I know we've had a few, we've talked about them here. Do you have anything on the top of your head that you think would make the most sense to start?
Not really, although what Joanne just mentioned about the surveying the area would be something we could help with. I'm not sure what exactly the EDC all does, so it was hard for me to come up with any sort of list. So if you could give me a general idea on the things you sort of focus on, then I can give you some ideas.
Sure. So it's sort of the insultingly brief version would be that what we do is we support current businesses as much as we can through any methods possible. So if it's a business wants to come in and talk to us about what they do, why they do it, when they're opening, how long they've been open, and what they sell, they can certainly come in and talk about that with us. And sometimes they'll ask us if we have any ideas, and we'll share them, of course. We post social media to support businesses as we need to. And then in addition, what we do is we try to, in a way, passively recruit anyone that's looking to start a business. We'd like to show them Goffstown is a great place to start a business.
Right.
And sometimes what we'll do is we'll bring someone on who's an expert in economic development that will consult with us on certain things, such as this sort of first impression look into Goffstown. So we do a number of those things. And we create what we think are reachable goals from year to year. And one thing that we have been talking about constantly is trying to get a full-time economic development director in town so that in between these meetings we can actually have some movement. Anything else that I missed?
Yeah, echoing what you spoke about for new businesses coming into town. So, hearing from folks that have recently started businesses, trying to figure out how to make it more transparent of when you're starting a business. What are some of the barriers that you're going to face, some of the fees. And so, Joanne has worked a lot with particularly our website, trying to make it more user-friendly or more business-friendly friendly when somebody's coming in, so there's a little bit more transparency, and they know what to expect when coming in, know when to start, who to talk to, how to get in touch with Joanne, and moving through the process like that. So like Chet said, trying to facilitate new businesses and then soliciting some feedback from current businesses. How do we support you? How do we advocate on your behalf? Usually have one of the selectmen here at the meeting. So how do we help move things along for businesses?
Okay.
You know, I had talked to Tina about this, and I guess history-wise, I always thought that Main Street had worked with the EDC at some point in time. It seems almost a natural fit that we should be. In your time, do you remember ever interacting with economic development?
I don't. I've been with Goffstown Main Street since 2019. I did see a reference, though, somewhere that they work with EDC on, you know, certain aspects, but no specifics. And so I was like, oh, let's reach out and see if we can reconnect if we did do anything. But a lot of what you said is a lot of what we do. One of the things we get sort of frustrated about, I guess, if this, maybe that's not the best word, is our bylaws sort of restrict us to the Main Street area, and so supporting Pinardville gets, you know, we just don't have the capacity, or we're not able to. So looking for some sort of way and how we can try to support them. And so I know that we had talked about for a while coming up with some sort of welcome kit, if you will, for new businesses. And, you know, that's something that we could help with. We could put it in some sort of digital format. And that way, that's one thing that if we put that together, that's one way we might be able to help support Pinardville in a certain way. I don't know what all those things are, so we could work together. We do a lot of social media as well. We have a pretty big following, so I think just connecting our pages and
That's the problem with our new Facebook page, is they won't let me link it
Oh, really?
with the town's Facebook page.
Yeah.
So we have less than 30 followers, and so I was told that, well, you have to keep posting something, and then hopefully the people who see it will share it, and that's over time you get more, but that takes a while.
And you have to get a lot of people really interested. They have to,
Yeah.
it's not just posting, it's commenting and then
Right.
sharing the post.
Right.
yeah.
So that's, yeah.
So if somehow we could have a post on your page and say, hey, join the town's
Yeah.
Facebook
What's
page.
the reasoning that they wouldn't?
I have no
allow a
idea.
link? I mean,
Facebook
we're
is,
part of-
I don't
it's
know.
really hard, Meta's really hard to.
Do you know
They've
how
changed a lot.
I have to connect to the Facebook page through my own Facebook
Mhm.
page? That's how it's set up by IT. So I have to go onto my
You
own
have to go- in
Facebook
order to
page, and then there's
make changes.
there's a little button that I push to get onto the
That's
economic
what happens
page.
to me for like me and Charlie's.
Mhm.
I go into my Facebook account and then I can scoot over to
Yeah,
Charlie's.
that's how they set it
Yeah.
up. So it's very different than what I'm used to. And I feel like unless we really start like, you know, posting things all the time, which I've been trying to, but there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, I'm trying to come up with things, but I probably should post about the new restaurants in town, because there are a few new businesses, and the bookstore moved and all of that, just to have something on there, because I still think it's going to take forever doing it that way, because people aren't really sharing those types of things. Maybe the restaurant, but
Yeah, we repurposed our public service announcements to be more about Main Street in general instead of Goffstown Main Street.
yeah.
And so we use opportunities like Mother's Day or, you know, graduations to try and tie in what you might be able to utilize in the village to, you know,
And you probably post your posts not only on Main Street, but do you share them to the other Goffstown pages, like the Goffstown Real Deal and different things as well? To try to generate
One of our
more
board
traffic?
members does. I'm not a big Facebook user, so
Gotcha.
I don't have a connection to all those other pages, but one of our board members does and shares. So we could certainly, that's something we could, work with you on and try and get that onto
Yeah.
your Facebook and then
I-
push it out.
I do that now with, I send it to my page, and then I share that with the groups, with the Goffstown groups, because they're on my own page.
But the whole focus of that is
Kinda
just to educate people on the importance of supporting small business owners. So I try and put a little tidbit in there on, how many small businesses there are in New Hampshire, or, what it means to, and with the understanding that, it's easy to go to click Amazon. It's easy to swing into, order something on real quickly and go swing by Walmart and, pick up your stuff. But when you can, do all you can to kind of, I'll never forget one time when I was picking up lunch, my favorite lunch place, and I saw a mother get out of her car, get out a stroller, get her baby, put her in the stroller, go into Charlie's to get something, come back out, put the baby, and I was like, that's what I mean, is like, when you can really do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research when it was Small Business Saturday, like I was just reading about all the different Main Street things, and there's just so many cute things that they talk about, like about, when you're supporting a family-run business, you're putting someone through college.
Yeah.
All the things that you're doing, you're paying for someone to be able to, have a baby. Like, like things that you don't really think about, and I think that the town, especially where we live, Goffstown, is very supportive of each other. I think that, like, we've had restaurants in other towns and it's not the same, so it's nice to have that goodwill with the community and feel it when people come in and, they're always happy to see you and stuff, so it is nice. We
So-
appreciate it.
So it sounds that's easy, that we could, help with the social media and we can try and get this, welcome packet together. That would be a real easy, I think, something we could
How
work with.
many towns are Main Street towns in the state? Do you have any idea? Because it's a pretty exclusive club, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
People that are.
Well, there used to be a Main Street, New Hampshire Main Street
Right.
office, but there isn't anymore. I believe there's a handful, maybe 6 or 7, Rochester, Dover, I think. There's a few. I posted it once to let people know how many Main Street that I can't remember what the
I
number
asked
is.
the question because I think that's an asset for us or for EDC. We're one of the Main Street towns, if you
yeah.
will, and that, again, for recruiting purposes for businesses too. Do you get a lot of people that would come to you and ask about starting businesses? Have you had any of those kinds of questions
We
about
get-
new businesses?
We get one occasionally, but not a lot. I think a lot of them come through the town first to get their information, and then sometimes we find out about it, through the
Yeah,
grapevine
after
that
the
somebody
fact,
else,
yeah.
something's happening, in the village, so.
Do the Main Street programs in other towns work together with yours as well?
Not a lot, no.
Okay.
No. And a lot of Main Streets are very busy and bigger than ours. Ours is all volunteer. We have one part-time office administrator, but some of them have directors and staff. We don't have that, so we're pretty small. That's one of the reasons why we have to sort of stick into this little area here.
Yeah, so one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking was certainly we can all share ideas, and I think that makes perfect sense. And we have had people from Main Street here on this board before, and it has been very helpful. Is one of the things we can work together on, I think, is, and you'll hear me say it a million times, our biggest challenge is limited resources.
Aware of what the value of down.
Limited resources, see?
I was
So-
trying to look up Main Street
So we,
America. I
so
apologize.
that said, in the event that we cannot get a full-time economic development director immediately, we could collaborate, and once we know that you're already onto something, we share that idea, and it will allow us to take whatever limited resources we have and maybe place them elsewhere. I think that still is working together for the whole town. If your
Okay.
bylaws restrict you to Main Street, then we don't have enough resources for the redundancies anyway.
Right.
Right, so it makes
Right.
sense that we know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it helps us focus our efforts other places if we don't need to focus on that here. So I think knowing your projects, if you have someone on your board or someone that is very knowledgeable about what you do that would be willing to join us here, I think that would be
Sure.
very helpful. And we can actually add it to, I mean, I would ask Joanne to add to this agenda. We already have everything, what's going on with the planning board, anything affecting us here, anything affecting us within zoning that we can advocate for. I think we can add a simple bullet, Main Street initiatives.
Okay,
And 2 things out of that, share ideas or suggestions, and then knowing what you're already doing so we can focus in other areas, in the Pinardville area, for instance, when necessary. I mean, anyone, any thoughts on that, just adding that?
Well, I mean, Tina, you should know that we focused on Pinardville,
Yeah, we have.
One of our focuses, and we've had New Hampshire Extension, I don't know if this is.
That's them, yeah.
But they were doing surveys, and we wanted that focus to be more in Pinardville, because I think we talked about, Main Street covering the village, basically, and you had an advocate for businesses, but Pinardville didn't, so that's why our focus in that. So we have been focused on that, and it seems like a natural extension of
right.
what you could, even some of these programs, I even think we talked about if there was a particular festival day or something that Main Street was putting on, can you extend that over to Pinardville as
I
well?
would love to, but, we
Well, I mean, with
definitely-
our help,
Yeah,
with our help.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of that too, Carl, so Cindy from White Birch came to our last meeting, and one of, the items that she brought up that she would like to see a focus on, some of the branding for Pinardville, and noticing down in the village and on Main Street, they'll have banners and some,
Flags.
some
Flags
flags,
is a
really
big
just
deal.
like celebrating Main Street. And so I think, sharing some of those ideas, and I think you've mentioned it before, of welcome packages for new businesses. So some of those strategies that you employ in Main Street, I think, could very easily be extrapolated, over to Pinardville, and that I think we could help facilitate.
When you are advertising for events, Tina, that are happening in the downtown area, you could still put signs. Can you put signs up in another area of town to direct people? Because I know that's what happens sometimes. We realize, like, we're at Charlie's and we're like, oh, it's Old Homes Day, that's why it's slow today, or slower. And we might not even realize it because we've just been so crazy busy at the restaurant that it's not
Right.
even, and we're like, oh, we should have posted about it. We should have, like, because we want to, like, encourage people to come to Goffstown and enjoy the Main Street, what's going on. And so sometimes it feels like there's like a disconnect, at least for me in Pinardville, to the village. I don't really see much advertised on it, although I did see some signs in my restaurant about Old Home Day, so I should be careful. But I was
Well, we
thinking,
don't do the
the
historic
Goff-
society.
but I actually had some wooden, like, sign holders made that are downstairs in the basement of Charlie's. So when there is an event, I can actually put signs.
Okay.
If people have signs made, I'd be so happy to do that. And I know that there's a couple other places that would be happy to do it too. Just
Yeah, that would be good. That would be a good thing to look at, because again, just
Just
how can we
unite.
try and,
yeah, that would-
provide some support to Pinardville so they don't
Thank
feel
you.
so left out. I recently, I can't even remember what it was, but their website, I think it was the Chamber of Commerce, I think with Concord. They have this awesome website that has like this place where you can put a community calendar, because that's one of the things that people have said, can you guys do a community calendar? Well, that's, manually it takes a lot of time and monitoring, that sort of thing. But they have this design in their website that I'm having our administrator look into to see if that's something we can do, because that, for you to be able to go in and say, I'm having this special for Mother's Day or whatever it is, that would be awesome to be able to, another
Yeah.
thing that we could do for the
Sometimes
greater community.
sometimes at Charlie's, I'll host a business from town if they want to do a pop-up shop, because
Yeah? Oh, I
and then
love
they'll-
pop-up shops.
and they'll
I would
come
love
in
to-
like on a Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, and just set up. And the bakery area, we just did, the last thing we did was Girl Scout cookies, because it's kind of cold in there in the winter. But it's definitely available, like, for usage, and it worked out nice. But I was like, oh, I wish I could advertise it more, like, further than just like what I'm doing, because it's a great way to support business, and it's not just people in Penarville, it's anybody, if that makes
I
sense.
think the community calendar too, it would be easy if that was a digital calendar posted somewhere. Other areas, like I know WMUR picks up community events, so that might be an easy transfer. Hey,
Yeah.
this is what's going on in Goffstown too, so.
Yeah, so that's something we're working on too, so
Okay.
I'll keep you posted on
I
that.
like that. Joanne, you weren't here, so if we can start with the next meeting adding, so I'm encouraging someone from Main Street to join. However, if they can't, even if we can get a report before each meeting of what they're doing, the
Okay.
idea would be that we add Main Street initiatives to the new business every month. And then, of course, we can share ideas, but we can also look at how we can focus our efforts in other areas if they already have something covered. And I think that's helpful in and of itself. So I think that's just a good starting point for collaboration, to start there. Anything else for Main Street, or anything else that you want to discuss, Tina?
No, I think this is a good conversation, it's a good start.
Awesome.
And I just want to say, Tina's really been involved. I see her at the Ad hoc Bridge Committee for the scribe, and then we had this little volunteered dam committee,
Dam
And,
committee, yeah.
she's been involved
Dam stakeholder.
with that, and she's put in a lot of hours, so
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yes, thank you very much. And thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you, I'll be in touch.
Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina, thanks.
Joanne, I did skip the minutes because I'm not sure that we have enough people that were actually here, because I would have to abstain.
Okay.
I don't think Oscar could vote because he wasn't on quite yet. We have Sarah. Do we have enough? Were you here,
I wasn't
Chris?
there.
Yeah, so I think we'll just push that to the next meeting and hopefully have enough people there.
Sure.
So next we're looking at, Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, sir.
the update on the Bridge Committee, please.
Yes,
I don't think so.
well, I had Joanne,
Oops, I'll go back to that. Thank you.
you want to do something before that?
No, we can go back to that. I'm just going to go back to it after.
I had Joanne put a packet together that I sent over to her because it is the final report. We submitted the final ad hoc bridge committee report to the select board on May 6th. And I just wanted to point out a few highlights of that report. And it is, we spent, you can see the members of the committee, and you can see Tina was one of them as a scribe for us. But there was a pretty good selection of people and representatives of the different departments in town. We spent, as it says here, about 163 hours total of volunteer time going, talking about some of what the charges are for us. And this was an extension of the original ad hoc committee that was 2020 to 2022. So we were an extension of that, and our charge ended in May of '24. So that's why we're making this final report. Basically, our charges were to look for sources of funding for a potential pedestrian bridge, okay? And then to be able to set up a 5013C nonprofit so that we could raise funds in the attempt to build this bridge. We did a lot of things. One of them I just wanted to point out. In the back of this packet, you can see a sheet that kind of gives you a pretty good description of what we were trying to perform. We were at the Pumpkin Fest, just with the kind of table over near where the Rotary Park is, and just trying to get information, getting some feedback from people. So it was somewhat of an informal survey, but that's one of the things that we did. And the other thing that's not listed here is that we oversaw the purchase, which is right now going on, the purchase of Rotary Park, the land that is at one of the abutments for where this potential bridge would be constructed. So the town is purchasing that land from the Rotary Club, because in order to go for any kinds of grants that we would look towards, we'd have to obviously have ownership of the land where we were trying to build something. So that was one of the things that we were overseeing. So we did present to the board, and I think the primary things that we were explaining to the board is, and our recommendations, is that we found that there is a grant a transportation alternative program grant, or a TAP grant, which would be, we would be able to apply for that grant in the fall of this year. And you can see a timeline here under our recommendations, and timeline would be that, you know, if everything fell into place, we could potentially have a pedestrian bridge by June of 2028, so that's, you know, down the road. But we would like to apply for that grant. The question, of course, is any grant, you need to have funds provided, private funds. It's a 80-20 grant, so the grant would go up to $1 million in this particular case. We're the cost of the bridge, to build a bridge, is about $1.25 million. So we'd have to be looking to raise about $250,000 of private funds. So that is, of course, the question in front of the select board. Number one, when they're going to discuss this final report, June 3rd is a working meeting, because there was some concern with regard to being able to basically acknowledge this and say, yeah, they're all for it, but I think there were some questions of a couple of the board members that were questioning whether, does that mean that we would have to bind the town for that 20%? And our point was, no, what we're trying to do is get the backing of the Board of Selectmen, the town selectmen, in order to go forth with a grant, because we need that. We need that endorsement from the select board in order to do it. So that was our point. We're not saying that we're not looking for $250,000 from the town. Obviously, we're not in the position to tell townspeople that, yeah, we want to build this bridge, you know, and you know, your taxes, you know, are going to be affected by it. No, that's not the point. We're trying to do this, and we're trying to have the ability to be able to raise private funds. But in order to do that, we have to have the endorsement from the select board. So that is number one. And the second charge that we had was, of course, to form a 501(c)(3). And we found that that would not be necessary, because we got the okay from the Goffstown Rail Trail Association. David Pierce was on our committee. And rather than go through all of the what's involved in setting up a 501(c)(3), they could be the conduit for raising funds for the bridge, the pedestrian bridge. So again, we want the select board to accept those recommendations. The third recommendation, so there's really 3 recommendations, and the third is to continue the ad hoc committee, so that we can oversee, number one, applying for this grant, and hopefully work on fundraising as we go forward too. So we wanted to have an extension of this board, or the committee, I'm sorry. So that's what we gave to the select board. They're looking at it. They will discuss it on their June 3rd meeting, but our work is done, basically, unless they endorse us to go continue with the committee. I think just off the cuff, the feedback that we get from a lot of people is, yeah, that is a great idea. It's certainly a natural extension. Actually, it's the last piece of the rail trail, and we've got a fantastic rail trail. And David Pierce, and basically it's David Pierce and his group that has worked on this for I don't know how many years, but he's really taken possession of it, and he's very knowledgeable into the grants that are available. So I think, from a perspective of EDC, and that's what I wanted to. I wrote let me take one of these and pass that around. I would like this board to send a letter, if we agree upon it, to send a letter to the select board. And basically, I'll read it, because this is what I was just about to say. I was going to say, I want us to say that our recent meeting, we reviewed the final report of the Ad hoc Bridge Committee. Based on that review, the members of EDC would like to support the committee's findings. We believe the construction of a pedestrian bridge over the Piscataqua River at the end of the Goffstown Rail Trail will be an economic benefit to the town. The bridge will be the final piece of the rail trail, which will allow pedestrians and bikers easy access in and out of Goffstown Village. Easy access to Goffstown Village will give our businesses exposure to new customers that may not otherwise come into the village from the bike trail. Currently, those coming from the bike trail must walk or ride on public streets to access the village. Also, a pedestrian bridge adds another amenity to Goffstown that will attract new residents and businesses. Therefore, I would like, collectively for us to submit a letter, maybe signed by the chair.
You already signed it.
Just sign it.
Nice. Yeah, I think, and I try to take that from the economic development perspective, is because I think it is an impact.
We'd certainly support it as a whole board, as a whole committee. We support this wholeheartedly. It makes perfect sense.
All right.
The only question I had, and again, we don't have the select board rep, I believe, we're at a different time than usual, but I think it's Kelly Boyer now, so.
Oh, it is Kelly? Oh, okay.
So she's not here, but in your estimation, did you get any additional conditions that need to be met beyond just recommendations for them to support this?
No, I guess the thing, and you probably have more knowledge of this, I think what was said by a couple of the board members is that they were concerned about commitment to raising that 20%. And the discussion went to, how can we ask taxpayers or even to put this on a warrant out of, it's like we want to take it from taxpayer dollars. And our point was, no, we're trying to just get it to see if we can raise that money. If we can't, and, we have time, the grant, I think you have time to, as David explained, I think you've got about 18 months in order to fill the particulars of the grant. So, if we don't make it, we don't make it. It's just the way it is. We're not trying to commit the town to $250,000, that's for sure. Not
Right.
at this point.
That makes sense.
So
Okay.
that was really the crux of the discussion. I'm just going to add one piece, because that was also on the agenda, is I was going to talk about the
Happy Falls?
dam.
Sure, yep.
We had a volunteer group. Again, Tina was part of that. Actually, Jim Craig and his wife Ann were on that group. Andy Cataret, I don't know if anybody knows
I
Andy,
know him.
but he's done a great job. Matter of fact, he was the chairperson of the Ad hoc Bridge Committee and did a great job. But he kind of formed a group of people, interested people that were concerned about what was going on with the dams and what's happening with the state. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about solutions and what could happen from the state perspective. And what we ended up doing was basically, again, another presentation that Andy made to the select board, was to have a potential new charter for basically we're calling it a Scatterquah Waterways Committee. That would be a separate committee in town to oversee anything that's happening with the waterways through our town. And I think Andy, he modeled it after a couple of other towns that are doing just that, and showing that, some of these things, certainly like the dismantle of the dam, and what's going to happen, what is DES going to do, because we know that there's a lot of funds that can be available once, the dam basically is going to go away. The question is, what's going to be there in its place? Can there still be a waterfall there? Can there be some other water attractions in and around that? There is money for that. And the other piece of that could be, some of this money could go towards a pedestrian bridge. So we're kind of tying that in. And again, I throw that out there, that's nothing official, but we think it might be some money that the state might have available that we can really enhance that area from that bridge, where the bridge is now, and where the falls are, and there's funds, I know they've done it in other towns, Exeter is an example, where they've changed, the dam went away in Exeter, but they also had some great improvements right in the center of Exeter. If you go over there, you'll see what I mean.
Yep.
But, so that's, and that's in front of the select board as well. So that discussion will, I think it's gonna take place on June 3rd at the same time.
And it ties in. That's interesting. Okay, good.
Yeah, so anyways, I've tried to come
lot of
after all
information
that
there.
we've done. but-
Speaking of the dam, I received a report yesterday from an engineering company that provided services to the Village Water Precinct about their wells and their infrastructure. And it wasn't pleasant to read. They need $13 million to make improvements, and then another, I think it was roughly 1.2 million to do some additional improvements to some other section. But there was something mentioned about the removing of the dam, and they were concerned because the wells are in the path of where the water would flow towards New Boston or towards the river that flows. And they were saying that, it would deplete the water flow.
Sure.
And it could have an effect because some of the dams, some of the wells that they're using are surface water wells, which I was like surprised about that.
Really?
So I really think this is something, like, not many people have seen this report, but they said they wanted to send it over to myself and the town engineer. And I think it seems to me that there should be some concern on the not just the water precinct, but the town itself, as far as further development, using this water
that-
supply and what's going to happen and where are they supposed to get $13 million from.
And that's why we proposed this new committee, Waterways Committee, basically. That would be in their purview, and they would be reported, it
did
would be
that
a select
what
select
happened
board
with that?
representative. What's that?
What happened with that?
It's still under advisement.
Oh, okay.
It's a June 3rd.
Because I don't think the selectmen have seen this report, to
Oh,
my
I don't know if
knowledge.
they have, and
They may not have yet. Yeah.
But I mean, they've certainly seen enough reports now with regard to the dam and what's going to happen with the dam, but they also understand that there are funds available for improvements when the dam does go away, and anything that has changed the complexity or the area around the dam. So that's why there's it gets a lot deeper. A couple of the reps in town proposed a bill in legislature that didn't go anywhere. I think it's tabled. They were looking to basically create a fund for the purposes of helping towns like us take care of these dams, to be able to maintain the dams. The problem with the Hadley Falls Dam, it hasn't been in operation since 2007, it hasn't generated any power.
And it
since-
hasn't been maintained.
And it hasn't been maintained. So now the
Right.
state came and said, okay, yeah, we'll give you the dam for $1. And it costs about another couple of $1 million to get it back to where it's supposed to be. And it's not gonna, you're not gonna find anybody to generate power or lease it to generate power.
I still think it's going to be a big detriment to the Main Street area with that dam removed. You're going to see a
Agreed.
big difference in the water capacity, and it's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and people kind of scoff at it, but talk about, Tina was here, the Pumpkin Fest. I mean, if you don't have that water feature, that Pumpkin Fest raises, I don't know, like $5,000-6,000 just for Main Street
Well,
alone.
some people have said, oh, we'll have it down at the Glen Lake Beach. There's no parking down there, and it
There's
just.
no business
And
down there either.
and who's
Right,
gonna
right.
drive
We're
down
trying to
there,
bring
like,
people in
after,
town.
it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They'd
That
have to
report-
figure out something else to do.
That report that you just told us about, and I think that what you are all onto in your committee, which I really like, is that if we're looking at additional damage being created by the removal of this dam, then there has to, the state representatives, I know we always use like the term the state, but the individuals that are representing us at the state level will have to look at damage mitigation, and the more information we have about this that we can share in an official letter, the better off we are in getting some sort of positive reaction. So when you say they tabled that, was it more of a shelf veto, or was it just a table with an actual date
I
upcoming?
don't know. I'm
Usually
not-
when something's tabled, it's killed, they kill, that's
Yeah,
how
shelf
they
veto.
kill.
Okay, that's what I was asking, okay.
Because
So-
I think it was Representative Mazer, and I want to say, I don't know if Fred Platt was involved, but also there was a bill on the Senate side, Keith Murphy had
Mhm.
put in or suggested, and nothing went, and again, I don't know the particulars, so I'd probably be saying the wrong thing if I said it, but I think there was an attempt. I must say, though, there was nothing happening until this group of people got together to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And we called the reps to say, do you know what's going
Yeah.
on? And then they started to get interested in, well, and there's certainly all credit to them. They made an attempt to see what they could do. And not only for our town, but for the state itself, so.
So our purview, obviously, is economic development and economic sustainability, so we can go from there. But I love not love it, like you said, it's unpleasant. But I do like that we're getting additional information about how it affects residents as well as businesses, so that we can actually pool all that information and create that actual letter. What we did try was to find out how much the Pumpkin Regatta and events like that generate for businesses, with the assumption that that water and that whole area is part of the draw. And we were not able to get, I don't think, Joanne, a lot of responses from that, but we did attempt that to put
Right,
together a
I
letter.
remember
But
it.
with the additional information, we might be able to try that again, add that to sort of an all-consuming letter about the damage and see what we can do. So thank you for the report and for all the work you're doing.
When did
welcome. Thank
that report come out, Joanne?
Just recently, I just got it yesterday.
Yeah, so it's really, okay, yeah. So we'll have to look into
It
that
was
more.
scary to read it.
And it's
Well, that's a
it's
good-
going to the select board, or what?
Do you know?
I can ask Derek if he wants to share it with
Might
them.
not, it might not be, since there's gonna be just a lot of discussion about this waterways, potential waterways committee and pedestrian bridge, I think we're trying to tie that all in, or they're trying to tie that.
I think there should be a meeting of certain groups that can be affected, planning boards, one of them, by this whole thing, because if there's an issue with, lack of water, if they're relying on surface water wells, the planning board has the ability to, stop larger construction projects that rely on village water.
And just so you know, Jan, that the charter that we proposed includes representatives from every department that would be affected. So they would be part of that group, reporting to the select board.
Yep.
There'd be a select board member on that. That's what we were, obviously, because it could affect a number of different areas
Right.
of the town, and the structure of the town.
I mean, that certainly creates a sense of urgency for a group like this to
Yeah,
be formed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's it, and nobody knows what's gonna happen, if the dam goes away, then what happens? What's it gonna look like? That's the first question, is
Right.
aesthetically, what's it gonna look like? Is it gonna be a trickle going down there, and then people say, well, then you're still gonna need a pedestrian bridge? Well, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a gap there, there's gonna be something there, but,
Didn't Exeter form a committee in order to study that?
Yeah.
Like it seems to me that instead of being reactionary, the town should plan ahead for when that does happen. It's eventually going to happen at some point, because I don't see the town wanting to take over that dam.
Right, well, it sounds like that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
The waterways and all that.
Yeah, the town is not, I mean, that's a done deal, the town is not gonna take over the dam. The
Because then there's
question-
other dams, right, coming up too, that.
Kelly
Yeah.
Falls
It's
is
the
the
same thing.
bigger one, because that affects Glen Lake. That's a whole other
Yeah.
ball of wax that I don't wanna open up, because there's so many residents in town that have lakefront property.
There should be a
Yeah.
committee that looks at this.
There should be.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I
It's
think
a big
there's,
deal. And their information on the Kelly Street Bridge is not so bad.
Yes.
you're right,
Like,
right.
at least we know that that's.
It's still gonna, yeah, that's still
But
going
that's
to
the
be
one
a
that
part.
doesn't have an operator right now. Kelly Street.
I think they
Kelly
just.
Falls, I
Kelly
think they call
Falls.
it.
I think they're just extending that lease, is what I
thought
understand.
not the man, I thought the company backed away now because they didn't want to install the fish ladder. Did that change?
Oh, no, but I think they've gotten around that, Joe.
Oh,
Well, how
okay.
long ago did you hear
That
that?
was a couple months ago.
Okay, no,
Yeah,
they've
it's-
gotten around that. Actually, they're gonna truck the fish around. I guess they don't have to
Oh,
build a fish, so they
really?
can take the fish and put them in a truck and bring them to the other side.
The marvels of engineering, Joanne, the marvels.
A truck.
So in
Yeah.
the interest of moving forward on this, the letter that I just signed, if I
Yeah.
could ask for a motion to send that letter to the select board?
Motion
All
to send the letter drafted by Dick Bruno.
Seconded?
Okay, second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any,
How did, I'm sorry, go ahead. My question may be directed to Joanne. How does this formally get to the select board? What do you,
So
what happens?
can you send it to me electronically?
Sure.
And then I can distribute it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But it won't have the chairperson's signature on it.
Oh, that's right. I can scan it then.
there we go.
If you
Perfect.
give me the original, I'll
Yes.
scan
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I guess this is, yeah, I guess this is good enough, huh?
Yeah, I can date it if you would like.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Thanks.
They pulled
Thank
a
you.
drill bit out of my tire. And they put a plug in it right outside. I
No
didn't think they
kidding.
could do that.
Is that what you're doing?
And they fixed it.
Nice.
Go, Joanne.
Strange as that seems, thank you.
Welcome.
No,
Stop.
it's the,
Stop going on those construction sites. where-
Well, I think that's how I got it. Yesterday, I was behind these buildings down the street, and there was a lot of junk back there.
Okay, so moving, sorry about that, by the way, but moving back to, I skipped the recommendation of reappointments, so I want to start with Sarah Smith-Trupakis. Would you like to stick around a little bit, please?
Yes.
Can we have a motion, can we have a motion for that?
I'll
Motion
make a
by-
motion
Motion by
to
Dick, second?
reappoint.
Second by John, all right. All in favor of reappointment, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No. Motion passes. And can we also ask Charlie to stay on this board with or without him here, or should we push this to next month?
He's the one who applied. so
Yay, okay, so
he's-
great.
he's
So-
interested.
Oh.
Can we have a motion to reappoint Charlie Birchmeyer to the board?
All motion.
All right, motion by Chris, second.
I'll second.
Second by John. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, so they're still here.
So this
Thank
will
you.
go to the selectmen for
Yep.
their official appointment, and we will be recommending the appointment.
Is that part of the consent agenda, like prior, they signed before, right? Usually?
think so.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so on to new business. Planning board agenda, at first glance, Joanne, I'm not seeing anything. Am I missing anything?
No, just the, St. A's is doing a big athletic project
Yep.
in Bedford, but in order to get to it, they're going through the St. A's campus, so they've come before the board a few times. There's some concerns with traffic, noise, the drainage onto the abutting property and things like that.
Is
But
there
The
anything
old
that-
Clark Farm land
Yeah,
up in
it's over
where
that
the
way,
soccer,
yeah.
behind their soccer field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where it is, but does it affect any businesses?
No,
Okay, that's what okay. Okay.
just St. A's College, but that's a
Okay.
business.
And then if you want to quickly take us through the first impressions of Dover, I know that the idea is that we would do something similar.
Yeah, so I saw this on the UNH Cooperative website. They've done it for a few towns now, and I talked to Scott, and he said because he never really finished up the other project, he could just do this as an extension of that.
Sure.
So basically, we need roughly 12 to 15 volunteers to help with this. And there's different categories, if you notice on page 4.
Yep.
There's, businesses, art, signage, landscaping, lighting, sidewalks, things like that. And you would have like maybe 1 or 2 people, or maybe even 1 person if we don't get enough, just go out there and follow along as to what you would be looking for. And it's basically to put a list together of deficiencies that you see that need to be improved. And eventually it would need to work its way over to the select board for a recommendation as to, what was the results, what the results were, and what the committee itself thinks should be looked at. And like I said earlier, I know we're in a default budget this year, but it would be nice to have a list ahead of next year's budget so that they could take a look and see if they wanted to. And some things may not even cost much, it may just be a group of volunteers going and sprucing things up, cleaning things up, that kind of thing. But it was very successful in Dover, and there were a few other towns that they did, mostly up by the seacoast. And the purpose of it is to assist the businesses in having, you know, more pleasant surroundings,
Yeah.
trying to get people to go because things do look better. And it would encompass the whole town, so not, you know, obviously not the residential areas, but the town, the business areas themselves. So I thought it would be worth it since it would be free.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Just a couple of questions I had. So this was performed in 2018. Is there a sense of, are these linked to changes that were undertaken because of this, or is it too difficult to try to link back any changes made after this to this
I can
specific
look
initiative?
into that.
I think it's
I
just-
didn't give you the entire booklet because it was just so long,
Oh,
but there are many pages in here that talk about what the recommendations were.
So I'm curious of how much, you know, each individual business performed, what was assistance, you know, from a Main Street program or something like that. Just, you know, as we look to you know, if we execute this and look to tee up things, you know, having kind of a playbook from Dover, I think would be helpful to understand some of the, you know, how they undertook the changes. And then for the volunteers, did Scott say, is this a specific survey? Do they have like a rubric or key criteria that each volunteer is using, or are they all subjectively making
No, there would
comments?
be a rubrics included. I don't know if it shows it in here, but there would be, because then you'd have, you
That's
know.
what I figured, but.
My guess
ask.
would be on the full document, somewhere you'd
Yeah.
probably see it, but this is just the first
Right.
16 pages or so, but that's a good question, because we would want to make sure it's objective in some way.
Right.
Okay,
This kind
Go ahead.
of, I wish Tina was here. It seems like really the charge of a Main Street program, not that, I mean, that only affects this part, but this seems, as I remember Main Street going way back when we started Main Street, you know, this was kind of what the idea of Main Street was, to enhancing businesses, being able to look, the feel of the town. So it seems like there's a lot of those same ingredients now.
I think that
Obviously.
underscores exactly what we were talking about before, and Chet's, you know, recommendation to have, you know, either a Main Street representative or knowing, you know, what they have. But if we could plug in on this, I think it probably makes it easier for us to facilitate, since we've already started that initiative with Scott to continue that work. But I think it underscores why we would want Main Street involvement on this committee and that work.
Because obviously this is town-wide too, so it would help that
Yeah.
pronoun
For sure.
side, for sure.
Joanne, is it possible to just skip all the bureaucracy, right? I'll just call Adam at DPW and say, go fix it. Is that possible? Can I just do that? Would
Right.
that work out?
In the real world, no.
Okay, thank you. Had to try.
In a beautiful world, it would be
It would be
ideal.
wonderful, yeah.
So what are the next steps on this, Joanne?
So I just have to contact Scott and, well, first we have to find volunteers. He wanted
Right.
me to find 12 to 15 people. So we'll need to gather up and see who actually will be willing to go out and look at these things. And then we can get Scott involved and maybe do a little training beforehand with them, like we did the last time. And then, you know, it shouldn't take that long if we have enough people. That's the key.
Do we still have that volunteer list from the survey?
I think
Project and
so,
training?
yeah, we definitely have
I
that,
wonder if that
yeah,
would be a good place
Yeah.
to start.
yeah. So I'll put, I'll make some phone calls and see who I can come up with, and I think there are people who would help.
I agree. I think there's enough people that would help. Awesome. Anything else on that?
No, that would be it on that one.
And then I know you brought in Blue Dot. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. So this is a company who contacted me. They're called Blue Dot, and they have an app where it's basically for a rewards program for local businesses. The businesses don't need to do anything. You sign up with the company, you provide them with the list of businesses, they plug them into their app. Someone goes shopping and they get the receipt, you scan your receipt into the app, and you get a reward. And the town would determine what that award would be, whether it be 5%, 10%, or whatever, up to a maximum of whatever. So it sounds great, except that the 5% or whatever it would be would have to be paid by the town. There'd have to be some kind of an account set up where the money is drawn from that kitty. In the meantime, in addition to that, there's also a $395 monthly fee for them to run this whole thing. And that's up
Oh, that's
to...
monthly?
Monthly.
Oh, okay.
And that's up to 250 businesses. As you have more, the price goes up. So I explained to them that we're in a default budget, we didn't have any money, and so then they tried to, give me their sales pitch, and they said, well, you could have the businesses pay for the rewards 5%. And I thought, no, first of all, that's way too complicated. And second of all, we're trying to bring people in to shop at these businesses. We're certainly not going to ask them to pay the discount. So it sounds good, but unless maybe if we were a city and we had lots of funding and it would work, but I was excited until I found out the cost.
Yeah.
And $395 a month is
It seems
very
more like,
expensive.
for a city or a town that
Yeah.
has volume of,
Yeah.
bigger volume businesses.
So,
And subsidizing everything with 5% from the town is just,
Yeah.
The monthly fee would wipe out our budget, right?
Yeah,
So then
oh,
we
yeah.
wouldn't even be able to,
We
we
wouldn't have
wouldn't even be able
anything.
to apply the discount,
Right,
so,
right.
yeah.
and I don't think the selectmen or the budget committee would go along
No.
with this
Too bad.
5% anyway to begin with. But it sounds like a great idea if you have enough money to put into the fund to start it up. And then I said, well, what happens when you run out of the money in the fund? Well, then you can just stop it for a while. I mean, and that seems like counterproductive in a way.
That could lead to some customer
Yeah,
complaints,
yeah.
potentially, I can see that.
So I
Can I
just
ask
thought
a
I'd tell you
question?
about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Joanne, though, something along those lines, do you know, is there any grant opportunities for something similar, like an incentive program?
There might be, I haven't
Yeah.
looked into that, but certainly can.
Because maybe we could do something similar, but with a slightly different structure
Mhm.
that would incentivize.
And just on a side note, over at St. Anselm's, there was a group of students that built an app on how
Oh,
to,
really?
and they came to like our restaurant. They built an app that includes all the different businesses in town, and they were trying to say, well, if we're a St. Anselm student, can we get a discount? Would you be part of this program? So they were building like some kind of like rewards type of program already. So
Were they
Can we have
asking
Scott
for
do that?
money?
Yeah, can I do that?
no, it wasn't like that at all. They were looking to benefit themselves as students. And I was asking them, and they said, oh, no, we're doing it for like, it's something that we all came up with because we live in this town and, we feel like we feel more a part of it.
Right.
But it was also had something to do with some kind of class.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. Maybe I should try to see if I can get in
Figure out what
touch with
class
that
that
gentleman
was.
again and find out what class that is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a way for us to somehow partner with St. A's and use them for marketing, this type
Right,
of, or
right.
something.
Yeah. It's nice too, because in this situation, the businesses don't have to do anything whatsoever. They don't even have to say whether they want to participate, because nothing is, taken out of their kitty, and it's basically just like, here's your business, it's on here, and people are getting a 5% discount.
Yeah.
That's the clear strength of the proposal.
Yeah.
And then it,
And then it goes down from there.
Yeah.
And I wonder if somebody mentioned Scott from UNH Extension, whether they've run into or have seen any towns do
I
something
can
similar.
check with them.
Since
Yeah,
we're
there's-
gonna be talking with him, I think that
There's
might be.
probably something that's more advantageous, you know, that's similar, that provides some type of rewards that,
Right.
that
That doesn't-
is already
That
exists,
doesn't cost us anything.
I would think. But it is definitely a good idea to
Good idea.
promote businesses, and then it's also an incentive for a new business, knowing
Sure.
that we support our businesses.
Well, and I think you could start smaller too. I mean, if you're committing to, you know, paying this subscription fee every month, you need to have a, you know, substantial amount of people probably on board to make it worthwhile.
Sure.
And, you know, I would feel that some of the businesses would be pretty hesitant to jump on it.
But that's
at least
it,
at
you don't
first.
even need their permission. Because you go in there and you pay your bill as to
Yeah,
whatever
they're
that
not
bill
gonna
is. It's not until afterwards that you scan the
true.
receipt.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it, is you don't have to get their buy-in.
I mean, I imagine once they get a long enough list of customers, they go to the business and say, "Do you want to buy all your customers' contact information?"
They probably do.
I'd imagine that's exactly.
And after you,
That's what I would do.
250 businesses, then the price of the $3.95 a month goes up even higher.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So,
So you're basically paying them to build the database for the businesses in town.
pretty much.
In a way, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
And they
good.
can sell the data.
Probably
Just need
sell
to
it to.
contact
It's-
They can sell it to.
Sure,
they can
yes.
sell
I
it-
did a Zoom meeting with them, and it's just all
Well,
really
not only
young
they can- they're
people.
getting like that
came up with
they can
this
sell it to
idea.
your-
So are we gonna, so in general, we're gonna pass on this for now, but it's a nice idea to think about and something else that comes up. If it's grant funded, great, something like that, we can take another look, which is good. All right,
Not AAA, but AARP sometimes offers grants for different things, for economic development.
we'll keep an eye out then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did one in Hillsborough, something in Hillsborough.
Oh.
I know they gave a $5,000 grant to build something to make it more accessible for elderly people to access like a public area.
Oh, that's good.
Joanne, in moving on to the goals, the EDC goals, was it just last year that we updated these?
Yes, and each
So,
year,
yeah.
you usually just take a look at them
Yeah.
to see if you wanted to
So
change
in looking at
anything.
these goals, if I remember, the entire purpose was to make sure they could exist in perpetuity, so that any initiative we take would fall somewhere in these. I think that still applies, but if anyone has any other thoughts on that? But otherwise, I would suggest we remain with them.
Well, I guess this includes the mention of the UNH Cooperative Extension,
It does.
right?
Yep.
Which we would potentially be continuing. I think the wording allows it, like Jen said.
Yeah,
to
so you
continue.
think we'd probably be using them in
Yeah, for
At some
potentially
point,
this
yeah.
first look thing. So I think that works.
a minute?
So yeah. Do we need a motion? Oh, I assume we need a motion, Joanne?
Yeah, a motion wouldn't hurt, just to say that you'd like them to remain the same.
Is there a motion on the continuation of these goals?
I'll motion.
Okay, motion by John, second.
I'll second.
by Dick. Motion by John, second by Dick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes. And then Joanne, if you could sort of briefly talk to us a little bit about this letter of appreciation and what led to it.
Sure. So, you're all familiar with Hadley Falls, the new residential multifamily. I keep saying across the street, but it's really down the street a little ways, on Factory Street. It's a 99-unit rentals. They're rental apartments, not condominiums. They finally got their COs last week, so all of the buildings are finished, and their people are supposed to be moving in, I think, around today, actually, the 15th.
Yep.
So one of the changes that came up at the last minute a few weeks ago was the fact that the chimney, I keep calling it a chimney, it's actually a smokestack.
Yep.
The smokestack was in really bad shape. I mean, it was very, very old, and it was starting to crumble, and people were afraid it was going to be a hazard. So they came in and they asked the planning board if they could remove it from the site. Now, the smokestack was shown on the site plan, and it was also referred to, I believe, when they were given the tax break for the 79E, it was told that they needed to, the smokestack needed to remain the smokestack is also on our town seal, so it's, significantly important to the site. So the owner of the property came in and met with the planning board and asked if it could be removed, and the planning board was very adamant, saying, no, you need to keep it there and you need to fix it. So he went back and he had first come in with a study, and it's, in the study, it listed everything that was wrong with it and needed repair. So he hired some company that specializes in that, and they had, I don't remember what it's called, but they had all of the bricks repointed. And they showed us photographs of it during the changeover of the construction. And, they did a lot of work, cost them quite a bit of money. But the planning board said, you need to do this or we're not approving the removal. So they went ahead and they hired someone and they fixed it, and it's in really good shape. So David Pierce contacted Chet and I and asked if we would sign a letter stating that the owner of the property should get some sort of award for appreciation of keeping this smokestack.
Yeah, and that's my question. Was there actual, more than just keeping it, was there an improvement upon it?
I think he was looking for the Economic Development Committee to pay for the plaque.
No, rewind. Sorry, I'm talking about the smokestack. Was there some sort of improvement upon it, or did he just?
Oh, yes, he completely improved it.
Right,
and,
okay.
And
Yep.
fixed it so it was no longer.
Interesting note, David told me that there was actually a door in that stack that they could go up to maintain
Oh,
the
really?
stack. And they blocked all that up, obviously, because
Yeah.
it'd be a great
Yeah.
place to go and hang out. But,
That's our next field trip.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was going there after the meeting, darn.
So, and did David ever let us know the cost of the place?
No,
so we
he
could-
did not. And I'm not sure when he says he's recommending a plaque, if he's recommending, a little plaque that someone would hang on the wall, or
Or
is
like
he
the
recommending
site.
something to go on the smokestack
Yeah.
itself?
Yeah.
Which could be quite expensive because they're usually made of like bronze or something.
Okay. Well, I think we need more information.
Okay,
now.
I'll just get more info from him and,
Joanne, I also wonder if there's an opportunity to clue in the Historic District Commission on this,
sure,
because it's a historic portion.
yes.
And then also, similarly to what they do with the bricks for fundraising, what's the legality for using fundraising platforms to fundraise like a community appreciation for something like this?
Well, I would think, I don't know if the town would do it. I'm not really sure because it's private property. Like, they've done the fundraising for the bricks here
Right.
and at the Common, but that was on public property. I'm not sure how it would be
Yeah.
for private.
I don't know either, but that could be an interesting way to
Okay.
kind of gauge or get some, engagement.
Right.
Are you
From the
saying,
community.
you mean for people to donate the bricks, just?
No, for the plaque,
Oh, for the plaque itself,
Yeah.
okay.
but garner some, community engagement
Yeah.
for something that's historic to our town. Just a thought, if it's in,
Yeah, no, if
it's
if it's
possible.
very
Sure.
expensive.
The
I don't know.
smokestack is in the logo, correct?
On the town seal it is. So it said it cost $150,000 to do the restoration.
Really?
God, I thought you were gonna say for the plaque.
I know, that's what I thought at first. Like,
Not so much. That's a bit
Yeah,
much.
so much for that.
Like a hologram.
So David was recommending that the commission or together request independently or together request the select board to send a letter of appreciation with an embossed town seal to the owner. And then he says, perhaps a plaque with a historical picture of the site and an appropriate engraving could also be provided. A good task for HD and H Commission.
Which is what.
I think
so
you're
it
saying
just says-
HDC,
yeah.
yeah.
HDC, I
Historical
think is what he means.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he says, to which I suspect the site management would gladly display in the community room. Okay, so
Okay,
he's
there
not
we go.
looking for
There's our
something
answer.
on the smokestack.
So it's likely not overly expensive. So
He
if we can
says-
just get
Well, and then
Especially
he
if-
says he's willing to contribute $250 for expense of the plaque mentioned above. Having spent 10 years as an officer in the Goffstown Historical Society, I value the opportunity to have the history of the town.
I was gonna say, I wonder if the Historical Society could get a good photo of it that could be put versus like, okay, yeah.
So given that, go ahead, so you're
Brainstorming.
gonna, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
Question, were we being asked for
Well,
money in this?
Yes.
In this letter,
Okay.
no, but I don't
Okay.
know what transpired after this, between the time he sent this and the time that we were asked to contribute.
Oh, so when I did reply to this, just so to.
You did.
And I had basically said we would co-sign if the whole council agreed, and then I said we could do a vote of up to, and I think that I was looking for a reply, which maybe I should have been more clear about, if we're going to do an up to vote, what is the total cost, so we could do that, within reason. So I think when we get that, but I do wonder, first of all, is everyone in support of co-signing a letter for this?
Co-signing a letter of appreciation?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, fair enough. So then with the plaque, it might make sense because, we don't meet for another month. I don't know, I have no idea. Anyone an expert in plaque costs?
No.
Because I do not know. But I'm wondering if we can, at least for now, do a vote of up to 250 to match what he was saying, just in
matching
case it's
funds.
within that, that we can at least get it going without waiting another month. So would anyone have objections to that?
No objections,
Well,
but
I-
just a quick question.
Yeah.
What is the remaining budget for the year, just to keep it in context?
I don't have that in front of me. We haven't spent that much.
I didn't think we did, but,
Yeah.
okay,
I think we're good for
sorry.
that.
No, that's okay. I just, is that in the purview of something you guys would typically spend money on?
So the idea
Sorry,
would-
I'm
yeah.
playing a little bit of catch up.
Yep, so.
Because it seems like there's a lot of room for collaboration with like HDC and the Historical Society, and I just want to be cautious of you guys spending money. Like, what would be the justification? I'm not saying I
No, I'm with
disagree,
you,
I'm
with
just
you on this.
curious.
I
It
don't
seems a
see how
little,
this fits in the Economic Development Council's purview. I don't particularly see, I mean, he knew he had to keep the smokestack in the plan, so why are we thanking him
Joanne's
for
your
doing
Well,
it?
so, but that's my question with like I get from a historical perspective, so maybe we don't have a plaque that, maybe it mentions they restored it, but like, it might be a good chance for us to, seek at the bottom, like Economic Development Council, onto, a plaque or some kind of,
I just see it as
brand for
a
us,
great
but-
opportunity to collaborate on something really cool for an iconic place in our community that helps with the view of Goffstown for our local businesses, but I'm just
I agree.
curious.
I agree.
If-
It
if-
seems like it's at the level of, the town collaboration with the Historical District Commission, because they should be involved. I would think they'd want to be involved.
Right.
And whether they have, I don't know, if they have funds, but I question the amount, money coming from here just doesn't seem like,
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
I just, seems
Well, we
like
can-
a
we can hold
weird
off on the
place
mic.
to hold this request for money, is all I'm
Yeah.
saying, I guess.
Okay, so we agree to co-sign, and then maybe we do just
Sorry, I just
actually
totally
wait.
derailed.
No, I'm right there with
No,
you.
you're
I-
okay.
I'm happy to
good
say
point.
thank you, but
I
I
mean-
don't really need to send a check.
All right, so we'll co-sign the letter, hold off on any
for-
vote on
till
any
next
funding
month.
until we see where that fits in.
So you want to put it back on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, that, and the only thing is, I think, did I already say for Main Street to be part of the
Yes.
boilerplate? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's it for next month as far as adding those two things.
Okay.
Can we also just put planning board / zoning, because I do think both of those are what we want to look at to see if it impacts businesses.
Yeah, I haven't been providing you with zoning because it has all been residential.
Sure,
So
okay.
I kind of weeded those out.
Makes sense?
They haven't had any commercial for a while.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion by John, second by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.